Gethsemane is actually the English weird way to say Gethsemane, which is the right way. You will hear me saying it again and again in the right names. As in English, you get it all wrong. It's Gethsemane. Shemen means oil in Hebrew. Shmanim is plural, lots of oil. And Gat is where you make olive oil. So obviously it's a garden of olives. It's basically a place where you make olive oil. Gat Shmanim, where you make olive oil. Thousands of them all over the land of Israel. Thousands, till today. So the name is not a unique name. It's not a personal name. It became the garden of Gethsemane because of what happened here, right after the Last Supper. He took his disciples to this area and went here somewhere to pray, asked them to stay awake. Now, we know that Jesus knew this place very well because during the time he spent with his disciples in Jerusalem, they did not live in Jerusalem. They left in Bethany. They lived in Bethany. Bethany is a small town on the other side of the mountain, the eastern slopes of the Shema, Mount of Olives. So basically every morning they leave their home, where they stay, cross this area in order to get to the temple, in order to get to Jerusalem, and back and forth every day. So he passed through this area at least twice every day in the days that he spent with the disciples around Jerusalem. So he knew this site very well. He chose to come back here at that night because he needed a place that is not inside the city, that will be quiet, that he can focus, but that he knows. So he came here that night. So that's about it. Now a little bit about the olive trees. The olive tree does not die. At least humans don't see an olive tree die unless it's very sick, fire or something. Even fire doesn't really kill it. And it doesn't get very, very high and big. What it does, it gets thicker and thicker. Time passes, the trunk becomes thicker and thicker. Now, I stopped in this corner to show you this little tree right here. You don't have to know Latin in order to understand that it was planted here when? 1964. Now look at the width of the trunk, this tree, planted here, what, like 50 years ago? Now look at this one, or the one over there. There's one there that is even bigger. These trees are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years old, and the people of the church claim that they are 2,000 years old. Wow. They claim that some of these trees saw Jesus praying here and lived to tell the tale. Now, we do not know if it's true. It's really hard to determine the exact date of an olive tree, but I can tell you it's easily over 1,000 years. If it goes all the way to 2,000, we're not sure. But it is obvious. Also, we found the olive presses in this area. It's very obvious that there was an olive grove here, an olive press, Garden of Gethsemane. Also, who uses the oil that's produced in a Gethsemane? Well, everybody uses it. Basically, in the ancient times, people used the olive tree for many, many things. They used the wood for fire, heating and cooking, and they used the fruits for eating, like we do today. And of course, they used the olive oil taken out from the fruits, again, for many things. For example, they used it as a cosmetic product. It's very healthy to our skin, the olive oil. Soaps made from olive oil we still have today. They use it probably again like today for dressing the salad. But they were also using the olive oil to put in the candles, in the lamps. You remember how it looked like? Aladdin lamp, kind of. That was used with oil for light. And they used the olive oil for that. And if you want, you can look at it and say, the olive oil gave them light in darkness. That was the light of their life. And it just makes sense that if something is so important, so crucial, like the olive tree and the olive oil, that the olive oil will become the anointing oil. We anoint kings and priests, right? And the temple is right there. Behind the gate, you have the temple. In the temple there are many priests. They need olive oil. They need a lot of it. So right outside the walls, in the bottom of the mount, very close to the valley where the soil is very rich and good, perfect place for a garden of olive trees. Your customers is right across. So, traditionally, that is the location of the garden. Makes sense. And the church was built here. Again, this is a modern church, and it was built on ruins of earlier churches that were here before, commemorating the same story, the Garden of Gethsemane. This particular church has 3 different names. It's called the Church of the Garden of Gethsemane. It's also called the Church of the Agony, of the grief. Understand why. And it is called the Church of all nations, because when they built the modern church, Christians, groups of Christians from all the nations, or from many of them, donated money to help building the church. And it's also the Church of all nations. Now, I'm giving you the explanation here because I cannot do it inside. You will have time to walk around and go into the church. It's a pretty dark church on purpose, because it was night when Jesus came here with his disciples. When you look up, you'll see lots of little domes with like golden dots representing the stars, and also the symbols of the nations that donated the money to the church. And as you go closer to the east, remember, Catholics further facing east, you go to the east, you have the apsis, the central apsis with the altar. Usually under the altar you will find the relic, the holy thing. What is holy in this particular church is a stone, is a rock. The traditions say that that is the exact rock, stone that Jesus is using when he's praying to his Father to remove the cup. So it's a very important and holy place for many Christians right there inside this church. Up above, you'll see a few nice mosaic pictures. One of them is Jesus praying, and the others talk about other things that happened here. One of them is Jesus' kiss, and the other one, if you remember, when the servants of the high priest captured Jesus, the disciples threw swords, one of them cut the ear of one of the servants. That also located on the wall as an image. On the floor you will have mosaic floors. The modern church, as I said, was built on the ruins of earlier churches. They found mosaic floor of the earlier churches, and they kind of like built the modern mosaic to fit with the ancient one. And it's very nice to see. One last thing before I let you go around is, like before the entrance there's a staircase. Go down the few stairs and look up before you go into the church.